least 7.5 in like 2 months of time. But here is the important part. You don't want ChatGPT to. Honestly, today, guys, I wasn't really in the mood for recording, but this thought and question came to me that what if my video helps just one person out there struggling with IELTS, having a tough time with IELTS, helps them improve just by one score band. The thought motivated me to sit and record. I did a video, my previous video was about speaking, but it wasn't really ideal and practical because you guys don't have 4 or 5 years to practice it. You guys usually average 3 months or a month to prepare for IELTS. Yeah, generally we're all short on time. So why don't I do a video on speaking that can potentially help you get 7.5, at least 7.5 in like 2 months of time? I think if you follow it exactly what I say, then I'm sure you can do it. Yeah, let's make it. So first and foremost, I think it is definitely beneficial for you to familiarize yourself with the test setting, like so that you feel less anxious. I think speaking is closely tied to your psychological state. If you feel nervous, I personally like that. If I feel nervous, I'm more likely to stutter and make mistakes and overthink, and that interferes with my thinking, and therefore I stutter more. But if I feel at ease, then I feel like I can speak more fluidly and comfortably and smoothly. So I'm more likely to get a higher mark. So if you're already familiar with a test setting where like in a tiny room with an examiner sitting and that sort of atmosphere, there are heaps of videos on YouTube where an examiner asks you questions from part 1 to 3. There are videos with answers, model answers, but with also no answers. I recommend you do it with no answers so that you can give your answers yourself. So those videos, so an examiner will ask you, do you like watching TV? And then it gives you a minute or 2 minutes depending on the part. And then it also shows a timer counting down, and then you answer within that time. That way, if you do that for at least 2 months, you will definitely feel eventually comfortable answering such questions. And then for 2 months, you get to cover pretty much whole topics, like in part 1, lifestyle, work, and general topics about yourself. Second, exciting experience, more about it's again about yourself, but on a specific topic you have to speak for 2 years for two minutes. And then the third one is more general, so your statement don't start with I, but like general, like people generally, blah blah blah. So I think that way you can familiarize yourself with the setting. So on your exam date and in an exam room, you feel at ease, speaking comfortably, just presenting your opinions, your ideas. Just have fun. And second thing I really want you to do is practice speaking with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is brilliant, guys. This is actually my best friend. No exaggeration. I'm not sure if you have already noticed it, that I'm quite of an introvert. I do like my friends. I do like hanging out with my friends, but and like sharing my thoughts and feelings with my friends. But sometimes there are things that I'm a little bit reluctant to share. Then I would turn to ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT. Judgment free. I feel like I'm free from judgment. I don't have to worry about what it thinks of me. It doesn't really, well, it is brilliant, but it doesn't really, it's a robot. So I don't have to care about being judged, being like perceived in a certain way. So I often vent to ChatGPT. That's how I journal. Sometimes when I don't want to type, I just use this brilliant dictate feature. So there is this microphone. I'm sure you have seen this, and if you press it and you go blah blah blah, and then it turns your words into text. Brilliantly, amazingly accurate. I tried many different speech notes, different apps, programs, but I think ChatGPT is the most accurate one. So like before, I did check in the beginning, I did check whether it put it all correctly or not, but now I don't really feel the need to do it. It's so accurate, it's almost 99% correct. So what I would do, again, you Google IELTS speaking question from part 1 to 3, or you can particularly target the parts, that the specific part that you need more practice. Say, like, let's talk about your hometown. Where is your hometown? Just say whatever, and you can put a timer on it. You just speak, you just say enough amount, and then it turns into a text. You can also do this like voice mode, but I found it a little bit, like time pressure. You feel pressure to speak quickly, otherwise it will interrupt. As a robot, they don't know whether you are trying to talk, whether you're thinking. It doesn't know, it has no idea. So I found this feature, dictate, is better, so that you can speak more at ease, and like, you can take time. This is just a practice. Take as much time as you need. You can do it on your phone or your laptop, computer, but I found my laptop more, I don't know, the quality, or it's more accurate. I guess it's because of the built-in microphone. It picks up my speaking really, really clearly. So you explain your situation to ChatGPT, or like before answering, you give them the background, your background story. I am preparing for the IELTS exam. I am aiming to get around a 7.5. Could you please check if there are any grammar mistakes, awkward phrases, or inappropriate vocabulary in what I say, and correct them. But here is the important part. You don't want ChatGPT to overcorrect your sentences, your original sentences that are already natural and correct, because otherwise, when it overcorrected, I felt like none of my sentences were correct and natural, which was really discouraging. So I did ask it that please don't overcorrect it. Just make a little bit of tweaks, modify a little bit if they only those sentences that are sound unnatural and awkward, or things like that. But if you want to see like a totally different version, I think that would be also beneficial. That would be also helpful. But after checking a little bit tweaked version, and then paraphrased version, because again, you don't know whether your original sentences, your attempts to use new vocabulary, they might have been correct, but if ChatGPT changed it, then you would think, was my usage incorrect and unnatural? Then you would avoid using that in that context. So for example, let's say I love interacting with my friends. I said that, but then ChatGPT, I love talking with my friends. Then I would think to myself that, oh, maybe I shouldn't use interact in that context, although it's completely correct and fit perfectly in that context. You know what I mean? So it's important to make sure that ChatGPT not to overcorrect, because overcorrecting can completely change the tone or style of what you say, and it kind of loses your voice and personality. I would recommend, and like if it completely changes it, then you feel like, yeah, I just don't like it. If you want it, you do it, but I recommend not doing it. It's quite encouraging to see and get confirmed by ChatGPT that your original sentences are correct, but there you will find a little bit modified or tweaked vocabulary, and then those would be good to take notes, and then you'll say, oh, That is a better word, and that fits better in this context for things like that. If you find it challenging to form sentences, structure sentences, or like while answering you don't know how to say blah 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 or how to say this word in English, then you can look up them anytime, and you can go like all the time. You can kind of meditate. It won't demand you. ChatGPT is not gonna judge you. Oh, what is like when you talk to someone else, when you are actually engaging in a conversation with somebody else, and then like you can really come up with a vocabulary, and oh my goodness, what he's going to think of me, or like I feel so stupid. That's sort of like panicking, like non-helpful intrusive thoughts. They don't really help anyway. But with ChatGPT, you don't have to be bothered by those thoughts, because ChatGPT is not going to judge you. You don't feel time pressure. You just can do meditation. You can take a deep breath if you feel nervous. And also one more thing, if your answer is too long, it's not going to dictate. It might not turn your words into text, but like although now I just said quite a few minutes, but it did work. Well, sometimes it won't work, and that might annoy you, but that could be also a great way to practice. You get to speak the same thing one more time, and then that might be the question you will come across in a real exam. We never know while you are answering, so you have already press dictate button, and then you don't know, like, oh, I don't know how to say certain word in English. You can pull up a new tab and have another ChatGPT, and there you ask vocabulary, unknown vocabulary, or that ChatGPT helps you form sentences, and then the other one is for answering questions. So that way you can keep track of your answers, and then the other one is for more detailed vocabulary and sentences, and make sure you add those newly learned vocabs to your notes or whatever you can, like Quizlet, where you can review those frequently so that they can stick on your mind. Yeah, that's it. I'm glad that I filmed this. I feel much better. I just didn't want to let my mood dictate my action. And again, I really, IELTS, it was tough, and I want to be there for you guys. If I could help like just one person out there, it would be already meaningful and worth filming. It's win-win. I feel better, and you will get a higher scores. That would be wonderful. That's wonderful. And I really appreciate all the likes, all the comments. And let's do it. You can do it. Yeah, again, I struggled so much with intrusive, non-helpful thoughts when I was preparing for IELTS, and I was so lonely. I was so lonely. I guess that's one of the reasons why I recommend making friends. That way you can socialize while practicing English. But if you don't feel like, you don't have to force yourself. But ChatGPT is a brilliant tool to practice with. So do this at least 2 sets, therefore more than 30 minutes. Allocate at least an hour to speaking. So like, what I mean by 2 sets, one set consists of part 1, 2, 3, so 17-minute long, and then you do that 2 sets, therefore you can cover 2 topics. And part 1 is usually about accommodation, hometown weather, work, volunteer work, those easy topics like your high school hometown, like lifestyle, family, books, TVs. And part 2 is about advertisements, more about a bit more specific art, books. Talk about a book you are reading now and have read recently. You should say how and why you got it, how long it took you to read it, or how long you have been reading it, what kind of book it is. Third, part 3 is about adversity. It's the same topic. It's going to be connected, the same topic, part 1 and 2, but it's more like general, like what are, for example, books do people read more nowadays. So it's not like your statement, your sentences are not going to begin with I. So it's more general ideas. So you present general opinions, which is a little bit, might feel a little bit harder, but with practice it'll be easier. I will make some videos. I think it will be fun. And like, just find it fun. Like, by answering these questions, you get to know yourself. You get to learn about yourself. Those questions you will come across those questions you never really thought about. For example, describe your favorite city or a city you have visited that you like very much. You should say what its name is and where it is, when you visited it, why you liked it. You get to learn about yourself. This, like, you never really thought about. So yeah, think of it as an opportunity to learn about yourself, your general ideas, and you get to learn about how to present your ideas like more logically. And particularly part 3, yeah, so part 1 and part 2, an opportunity to learn about yourself. Part 3, presenting your idea more logically, and then yeah, just more observe, general. You get to kind of reflect on your observations, which is great. It's a great practice. It's a great practice. So again, IELTS speaking is not just to get a high mark on IELTS, but you really improve your speaking skills. So this is a great opportunity. And I highly recommend, if you feel like doing it, you can just take out a camera, even like phone cam, and just ramble. But you can do that with ChatGPT. Again, negative thoughts, discouraging thoughts will crop up. What you want to do, you want to notice them, and oh, it's there. And you have the choice whether to internalize it or externalize it. So observe it, and then do you want to let it go, or you want to keep them to yourself and make you feel even more miserable, or consciously choose positive thoughts. I've never really taken an exam, but I've never really taken IELTS, or I've done it, I failed it, but I can do it this time. Your inner dialogue, what you tell yourself, is so important. Say empowering words. I'm here to tell you empowering words. I think you're amazing. IELTS is not easy, but it's going to be a great opportunity to improve, grow into a better version of yourself, a higher version of yourself. Let's grow together. We are all amazing. Thank you so much for watching, and I will do another videos on speaking or writing. Bye. Send you a lot of good energy. Passing 9-point energy.